I walked into my apartment one evening after a long day at work, looking forward to nothing more than a quiet night and some takeout. But the moment I opened the door, I froze in my tracks. There, in the middle of the living room, was an elaborate setup that looked more like an alien science experiment than anything I'd ever seen. My alien roommate, whose name I still hadn't quite figured out, since it was a series of clicks and warbles, was standing proudly in the middle of the room, wearing what looked like some sort of lab coat. The apartment was filled with strange equipment, tubes, wires, blinking lights, and what I could only describe as mating pheromones in glass jars. The air was thick with a strange, yet oddly pleasant scent. The alien turned around, beaming at me with multiple glowing eyes. "Ah, you're home. Please, allow me to explain my latest project," they said, their voice mechanically translating their clicks into something vaguely human-sounding. I didn't have the words to respond at first. What is all this?" "It's a breeding trial," they said, their enthusiasm clearly outpacing any human notion of appropriateness. "I have learned much about your species' reproductive processes. I am prepared to begin conducting tests." "Tests? Right. Of course. You want to conduct tests? In our apartment?" I asked, my mind struggling to catch up. "Why?" "The research is crucial," they responded, completely ignoring any concern in my voice. "Your species' ability to reproduce, what you call breeding, is an extraordinary process, and my species needs to understand it. I have read many human documents and have concluded that the most effective method of study is participation." They gave a creepy little wiggle of their antennae, clearly proud of their discovery. I stood frozen for a moment, my mind trying to wrap itself around this absurdity. The alien didn't look particularly threatening. In fact, it was kind of cute in an unidentifiable way. Still, the whole situation felt like something out of a bad sci-fi movie. My roommate was so far out of his depth that I wasn't even sure where to begin. "Okay, let's back up," I said, trying to maintain some semblance of control. "I think we need to have a little talk about boundaries." "No need for boundaries," the alien interrupted, raising 3 of its arms in a gesture that I could only assume was meant to convey, "I'm being serious. This is a necessary and mutually beneficial experience. You and I will engage in what humans refer to as courtship. Then, we can proceed with the breeding trial." I raised an eyebrow. "Courtship?" "Yes," the alien said, completely unaware of my skepticism. "I have prepared an array of gifts to demonstrate my sincere interest. A token of affection, if you will." My jaw dropped as it presented me with what could only be described as a glowing rock the size of my head. "What's this?" I asked, bewildered. "It is a crystal from my home planet, used in our species' courtship rituals," the alien explained. "It is said to enhance bonding and promote genetic compatibility." I stared at the crystal. "Right. You've really done your homework." I could already feel the headache forming. "Look, I'm flattered, but this is a bit much. Courtship, in the human sense, is different. You don't just throw rocks at people." No, I understand now. Your species' rituals are more subtle," they said, clearly misinterpreting my response. "I will attempt a more refined approach." The alien then proceeded to get down on what I could only assume was supposed to be one knee, though the posture was rather awkward given its multiple appendages. "I offer my gift and my respect, as you are the one I wish to breed with." I blinked. "Breed with?" I repeated, slowly backing away. "You mean date, right?" "Date?" The alien's eyes flickered as it processed the word. Yes. That is exactly the term. I am attempting to make a romantic connection. Once the breeding process is initiated, I will also consider." No, I said, trying not to lose my mind. "We are not doing this. You can't just go around asking people to breed with you after, like, 5 minutes of knowing them. This is not how humans do things. I have learned that human rituals involve more complexity than initially assumed. However, I am committed to understanding," the alien said, nodding seriously. "My research must continue. I cannot proceed with my mission without your cooperation. At this point, I had no idea what was happening. My alien roommate was so completely unaware of human boundaries, social norms, and the very concept of a normal date that it was almost impressive in its incompetence. What you're talking about is insane, I muttered. Humans need time. We date, we get to know each other, we... Yes, yes. The courtship process, the alien interrupted, as if I was the one who had just come up with something revolutionary. Then, after several trials, we proceed to... Stop, I said, holding up a hand. We are going to fix this. You're going to put down the rock, and we're going to have a conversation. A normal conversation. No more breeding trials. No more weird gifts. No more, whatever this is. The alien cocked its head, clearly confused. But it is for the greater good. It is for the betterment of my species and your own. We will make the best possible pair. Pair? We're not even. Look, you can't just assume this is how it works. I had never felt more exasperated in my life. Understood, the alien said, still oddly serene. I shall proceed with a new methodology. And without another word, it turned and walked toward a strange alien-looking console it had set up. I could only assume it was trying to prepare for phase 2 of whatever insane courtship trial it had planned. I sighed deeply and sat down on the couch. I had no idea how I was going to get through this, but I knew one thing for sure. My life as a human was officially going to be anything but ordinary from this moment on. The next day, I woke up to the smell of something distinctly unhuman in the air. I stumbled into the living room, rubbing my eyes, only to be met by what could only be described as a breeding trial. The alien roommate was standing next to a table piled high with bizarre equipment, what looked like test tubes filled with glowing liquids, various fruits that didn't look like they came from this planet, and a big, flashing screen displaying a graph I couldn't begin to comprehend. Oh good! You're awake! The alien chirped, its many eyes sparkling with excitement. I've decided to move forward with the next phase of my research. I've arranged a series of courtship tests based on human biology. I blinked, trying to shake off the sleepiness. Courtship tests? I repeated, rubbing my temples. Wait, hold on. Are you serious? You're still trying to make this happen? Of course. The breeding trial cannot proceed until all protocols are followed, the alien said, its voice filled with an odd sense of urgency. I have reviewed numerous human courtship rituals. I believe I am now ready to proceed with your assistance. I didn't even have words for the absurdity of it. You're still set on this? Seriously? Absolutely. The studies show that human courtship rituals are highly complex and fascinating. For instance, I've read that human males often engage in gifting behaviors to impress their potential mates. I've prepared a variety of options based on your cultural practices. I couldn't help it. I let out a deep sigh. You're really going to make me go through this, aren't you? The alien's antennae twitched in a way that I assumed was meant to be reassuring. It's all in the name of science. Now, let us begin with the gift exchange. And just like that, the alien reached under the table and pulled out a large, shimmering object that looked like an oversized jellyfish. This is a symbol of my commitment. It is a delicate organism from my home planet, they said, offering it to me. It is said to symbolize loyalty and emotional connection in my species. Please accept it. I stared at it for a moment, unsure how to even respond. What am I supposed to do with this? I asked, a mix of confusion and sheer disbelief flooding through me. Why, you accept it, of course. It is a gift, a token of affection, the alien said, sounding almost offended. You humans are so difficult to understand. I have read that you often exchange such gifts as part of your rituals. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Yeah, but not like this, I said. This is insane. How about you stick with something simple? Like flowers? Or, I don't know, a nice dinner? Something that doesn't resemble a blob of alien goo. The alien seemed to process this for a moment. So, you would prefer a dinner? It asked cautiously. Right. I said, nodding slowly. Something normal. A dinner. Like, take me out somewhere nice or make something for me. A normal human gift. And for the love of whatever deity you believe in, no more weird alien creatures. The alien's eyes narrowed in concentration. Ah, I understand. Very well. Dinner it is. However, I will need to prepare it in accordance with human courtship procedures. I held up a hand. No, no. Please don't go overboard. Just keep it simple, all right? The alien nodded enthusiastically. Understood. Simple human food it is. Then, without another word, it turned and began rummaging through the kitchen, opening cabinets and drawers with speed and determination. I watched in a mix of horror and awe as it pulled out various items that didn't resemble any food I recognized. Eventually, it came to me holding what looked like a raw slab of meat and a blender. I believe this is a traditional romantic meal, the alien said, looking at me proudly. I've read that humans appreciate something called steak. I have combined it with smoothie ingredients to create the perfect romantic dish. I froze. A steak smoothie? Exactly, the alien said, clearly proud of its creation. The combination of beef and fruit will surely impress your palate and show my commitment to this courtship process. I tried to stifle a groan. This is not how it works, I said, holding my hand up to stop the madness before it could continue. Humans do not mix steak with fruit. We don't blend meat into smoothies. Hell, we don't even blend steak. But I researched this, the alien said, sounding hurt. The blending of solid and liquid foods is a common human practice. I believed this would be appreciated. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Steak smoothies. Right. And what else did you read about human dating? How about no more cooking experiments? The alien appeared disappointed but nodded. Understood. I shall attempt something else then. I felt a wave of pity. The alien was trying so hard, but it was like watching a child try to solve a Rubik's Cube for the first time. It was painful, it made no sense, and it wasn't going to end well. Still, I couldn't bring myself to be too hard on it. It clearly didn't get how ridiculous its approach was. And besides, I was starting to feel like I was in some weirdly surreal romantic comedy that was rapidly getting out of control. Okay, fine, I said, running a hand through my hair. Maybe we'll just skip dinner for now. We'll work on this slowly. Step by step. Just no more mixing steak with fruit, all right? The alien nodded eagerly, but then paused. Does this mean you are interested in the breeding trial now? I froze. Not yet, I said, trying to keep my cool. Let's focus on not scarring me with romantic meals first. One disaster at a time, okay? The alien made an odd clicking noise, which I could only assume was an acknowledgement. I turned away and rubbed my temples. I was getting more than I'd bargained for with this roommate situation, but somehow, I couldn't help but feel a little bad for the poor thing. It was so committed to its misguided research that it was practically innocent. Almost adorable, if you could ignore the fact that it was trying to breed with me like a lab experiment. I just hoped I could survive this strange courtship phase without losing my sanity. At least the alien was harmless, if overly persistent. Still, I had a feeling this wasn't going to be the last of its attempts. The next morning, I woke up to the unmistakable sound of something clicking in the living room. I groggily stumbled out of bed, still half asleep, and was immediately hit by the overpowering scent of something that wasn't quite food. The alien had set up some sort of bizarre display. There were various sensors and machines, and at the center of it all, my alien roommate was staring at a screen, making notes with what looked like an oversized pen. Good morning, the alien chirped, looking up from its notes. I've modified my approach based on further analysis of human courtship rituals. I blinked a few times, still not fully awake. You've what now? I asked, rubbing my eyes. I've reviewed your species' mating behavior from several different angles, the alien explained with a proud grin. And I've decided to move forward with Phase 2 of the breeding trials. I immediately regretted asking. Phase 2? What Phase 2? We haven't even gotten past the first phase of you trying to cook me a steak smoothie, and now you're on phase 2? Phase 2 is the compatibility analysis, the alien said, pointing to the screen behind it. I've constructed an extremely sophisticated test to analyze our genetic compatibility. It will provide the data necessary for the next step. I stared at the screen, which was filled with bizarre graphs and charts that seemed to go on forever. Wait a second. You're trying to scan me for compatibility? I asked, my voice dripping with disbelief. Exactly, the alien said, its multiple eyes gleaming with excitement. I will now perform an emotional and genetic compatibility scan to determine whether our pairing would be ideal for procreation. My mouth dropped open. Hold on. You're telling me that you're going to skin me, for compatibility like I'm some kind of genetic test subject? The alien nodded enthusiastically. Yes. This is the next logical step. Based on my analysis, humans are highly selective in their reproductive choices, and I believe this scan will provide the answers to the next phase. I let out a deep sigh. Okay, this is insane, I muttered. We are not doing a genetic scan. I am not being some test subject for your breeding trials. The alien seemed perplexed. But you are the ideal candidate. You are human, and I have already completed the preliminary research. This is the next logical step. You should be honored. Honored? I repeated, incredulous. I'm not honored. I'm freaking out right now, and for good reason. You can't just scan people for compatibility like we're on some weird dating app from space. The alien's antennae twitched, and it tilted its head as if considering my words. I have reviewed human mating rituals extensively, and it is clear that such compatibility tests are common practice. Many humans use technology to determine compatibility before proceeding with courtship. Yeah, we do, but not like this, I said, my voice rising. You're turning this into some twisted, alien experiment, and I'm not about to be your guinea pig. The alien didn't seem to understand the gravity of my discomfort. Very well, it said, adjusting its strange-looking device. If you are not comfortable with the scan, we can proceed to another phase. Another phase? I asked, rubbing my temples. How many phases are we talking about here? And why does everything sound like it's from some kind of science fiction horror movie? I have at least 20 phases planned out, the alien said matter-of-factly, oblivious to my growing panic. This is a scientific procedure. You'll see, it's very straightforward. After the scans, we'll test for physical attraction using pheromone-based trials. Then, we'll move on to assessing emotional responses in real-world courtship settings. I was staring at the alien as if it had just suggested we go fight an intergalactic war together. Did you say, pheromone-based trials? You want to test my attraction levels like I'm some lab rat? Yes. Exactly, the alien exclaimed, clearly pleased that I was finally understanding the process. The pheromones will help us gauge the emotional and physical connection between us, and it will tell us how compatible we are. No, I said, throwing my hands up in frustration. You can't just mix pheromones and test for attraction like that. Humans don't work like that. But you do. I've read that pheromones play a huge role in human attraction, the alien responded, completely ignoring my panic. Now I've prepared an array of pheromone-based perfumes that will assist in the process. Here, smell this. It handed me a small vial filled with a strange, glowing liquid. I held up my hands. I'm not smelling anything. This is crazy. There is no way I'm going to participate in this, not now, not ever. The alien seemed disappointed, but rather than taking the hint, it quickly came up with an alternative plan. Well, if you're not comfortable with the pheromone test, I have something else for us to try. It scurried over to a nearby table, where it had set up another odd contraption that looked like a cross between a vibrating chair and a meditation device. Look, I said, finally losing my patience. This whole thing is not how human relationships work. We don't just jump into testing for compatibility, running scans, or whatever this is. Relationships take time. We communicate, we get to know each other, I have read that humans communicate by touching. The alien interrupted, seeming to ignore everything I was saying. So I have set up this relationship bonding device to simulate a human experience of closeness. It then pressed a button, and the vibrating chair started buzzing to life, the strange device making a series of clicking noises. This should help us connect on an emotional level. Now please take a seat. I stared at it for a moment, unsure of what was more terrifying, the vibrating chair or the idea of sitting in something that was supposedly designed to simulate human intimacy. No, I said firmly, backing away. I'm not sitting in that. I'm not participating in your creepy relationship bonding experiment, all right? But this is a crucial part of human courtship, the alien protested, looking genuinely confused. Humans bond through touch, yes? This device will simulate the process. I rubbed my forehead in disbelief. No. Humans don't use weird vibrating chairs to bond. We talk. We date. We spend time together. We don't rush into it like this. This isn't a game. The alien stood still, processing my words, clearly trying to figure out where it had gone wrong. So, you are saying I should try a different approach? Yes. I shouted, now fully exasperated. A normal approach. I know I've said it a million times, but I need you to stop treating this like some alien experiment. I'm a person, not a specimen. The alien's antennae drooped slightly, but then it nodded. I see now. This is not how humans operate. I misunderstood your rituals. Perhaps I should just attempt to get to know you as a person first, yes? I nodded, finally feeling like we were on the same page. Yes. Get to know me. That's how it's done. The alien looked up, as if in deep thought. Very well. I shall proceed with a more human approach. I will talk to you. Perhaps we can have dinner? It was a step in the right direction, and at least it seemed like it was listening to me. But somehow, I had a feeling that this was just the beginning of many more strange and awkward moments with my alien roommate. I woke up the next morning, expecting the usual strange experiments and awkward conversations with my alien roommate. But to my surprise, when I walked into the living room, there was no complex machinery, no glowing vials, and most importantly, no bizarre courtship trials waiting for me. Instead, the alien was sitting at the table, looking, well, almost normal. It had a confused, but determined, look on its face, and its antennae were twitching in what I could only assume was a nervous gesture. "Ah, good morning," it said brightly. "I've decided that instead of conducting further tests, I should attempt something more human." "Wait, what?" I said, raising an eyebrow. "You're not going to try to skin me or cook me some weird alien food again, right?" No, the alien responded quickly. "No more experiments, I promise. I've realized that perhaps I've been going about this all wrong. You humans, you value connection through simpler methods, yes? Simple methods?" I asked, a little unsure of where this was going. "Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Human relationships aren't about complex experiments or weird scans. They're about, well, getting to know someone. You know, talking. Spending time together. Not rushing into things." The alien nodded eagerly. "Exactly. I have reviewed much human data on bonding. I believe that we should now proceed with, what do you call it, dating?" I blinked. "Wait. You mean like a real date?" "Yes, exactly," the alien exclaimed, looking proud of itself. "I will attempt a traditional Earth date. You and I will have a simple meal, engage in conversation, and perhaps even, what is the term, flirt." I was floored. "You're going to flirt with me?" I asked, my voice filled with disbelief. "You, an alien, are going to try to flirt with a human?" "Well, yes," the alien said, not catching the sarcasm in my voice. "I've learned that humans flirt to build emotional connections. I have carefully read your species' literature on dating and will attempt to employ these methods." I rubbed my temples, trying to stop myself from cracking up. "Okay, let's back up. First of all, I don't think you understand what flirting even is. Second, no more textbook stuff. Just act normal, alright? The alien paused and then slowly nodded. Normal. I will act normal. But, how do you suggest we proceed? I thought for a moment. Alright, we're going to have a real dinner, like two normal people. No weird glowing rocks, no alien food experiments. Just a regular dinner. You can cook, right? I can cook. The alien replied with a hint of pride in its voice. I have studied your human recipes extensively. I'm going to regret this, I muttered under my breath. But despite everything, I kind of appreciated the alien's determination. An hour later, the alien proudly presented a meal. I wasn't sure whether to laugh or cry when I saw it. There, sitting in front of me, was a somewhat burnt, yet surprisingly recognizable version of what I could only assume was a human lasagna. The alien had clearly followed a recipe, but instead of noodles, it had used some weird translucent sheets that looked like they came straight from a lab experiment. Still, it was edible. Barely. Here, the alien said, presenting the dish. I followed the recipe exactly as described in human texts. I hope it meets your expectations. I picked up my fork and gave it a wary look before taking a bite. It wasn't the worst thing I'd ever eaten, but it definitely wasn't a Michelin star meal. It's, different, I said diplomatically. But good effort. You're getting there. The alien looked at me intently, its many eyes observing my reaction as if waiting for approval. I am glad you think it is acceptable, it said, still somehow optimistic. Yeah, I mean, it's edible. I can work with this, I said, forcing a smile. Now let's talk. This is what human dating is all about. No more weird experiments. Just two people, having a meal, getting to know each other. The alien was all ears, seemingly completely fascinated. I see, it said. What is it like then? To date? To form a bond with another being? Right, well, dating is about finding someone you can connect with on a personal level. It's not about scanning or tests or whatever it is you've been doing. I paused, trying to think of how to simplify this. It's about enjoying each other's company. You talk about your interests, your life, your dreams. You find common ground and build something from there. It's messy, sometimes awkward, but it's real. The alien absorbed this information, clearly trying to process it. So, it's not an experiment? There's no correct way to form a relationship? Exactly, I said. It's not an equation. It's not about finding the perfect match. It's about enjoying the messiness of human emotions. That's what makes it worth it. The alien was quiet for a moment, its many eyes blinking as it took in the information. That makes sense, it said slowly. I had assumed that human relationships were much more scientific in nature. But now I understand. It's not about compatibility in the traditional sense, but about mutual understanding, shared experiences. Bingo, I said, feeling a little relieved that the alien was finally starting to get it. Human relationships are all about learning and growing together, even when things get awkward. There's no right way, and sometimes, the best connections happen when you least expect them. The aliens seem to consider this. Perhaps I have been too rigid in my approach. Maybe I was too focused on the science. I see now that human relationships are more about the experience of being together, rather than a perfect, calculated outcome. I smiled, impressed by how far the alien had come in such a short time. Exactly. And you don't have to flirt like the books say. Just be yourself. That's what matters. The alien nodded, looking more content than I had ever seen it. I will try my best. Perhaps we can continue this learning process together. Yeah, I think that's a good idea, I said, feeling oddly proud of the alien. Just take it slow. And maybe next time we can try cooking something a little less experimental. The alien gave me what I could only describe as a contented smile, its multiple eyes narrowing in what I took as approval. Agreed. But I must say, this has been an enlightening experience. I chuckled, feeling a little lighter. Yeah, it has. And I'll admit I'm kind of glad I didn't have to go through another breeding trial. The alien seemed confused but shrugged. Well, I will save that for later. For now, we have made progress. We have learned much about human relationships, and I look forward to learning more. I grinned. Me too, buddy. Me too. And for the first time since my alien roommate had moved in, I actually felt like we were starting to understand each other. Maybe the universe wasn't such a strange place after all.